Yeah, I mean, just starting off with congratulations, new national team head coach. I just want to find out in terms of the last few weeks, as negotiations took place, did you set out any sort of demands and what you wanted before you put pen to paper?
It was more of clarification of what the project was about, what were our expectations, what are the steps that we can take or we will take together. So that was always important, and it was quite a simple conversation with Forrest and the team, to be honest.
Could you share if there were other offers on the table since qualification to the Asian Cup, and essentially was it a tough decision to arrive to?
Yes, there were offers from overseas, but when I spoke to my wife about it, Asian Cup is such a huge competition, and when a nation comes calling, you don't say no.
You're 35. You sit in the hottest seat, I would say, in Singapore sports. Was there any concerns at all that at this age you're taking on this job and what it may do to you in the future? Was that at all in consideration?
Not really, because again, I started at Tampines at 28, and people were asking the same questions. But like I pointed out back then, um, my age is relatively young, but I started coaching way back, and so in terms of coaching hours, I've accumulated quite a bit, and also at the same time, I invested quite a lot of time and resource into improving myself over the years, and so I feel calm with what I've gathered over the years, and yeah, so age is never an issue.
We look back now in terms of you started off being a national youth footballer. I'm sure like every kid, you had dreams to become a national footballer. Now that you look back on that decision to step away from playing and go into coaching, a very wise decision made, no?
Hindsight bias, right? At that point of time, it was a probably a harder decision than today, because I really enjoyed playing, but at the same time I knew I couldn't cope with my academics, and so it was a really tough decision, but it is what it is, and I'm just very glad that it turned out okay.
One of the things that you did quite soon after you qualified for the Asian Cup was to thank PE teachers and people in grassroots. Could you just sort of elaborate more on that and why that was important to you?
Oftentimes I get to sit in front of the media as the face, and the players as well, and all the attention and limelight comes to us. But we wouldn't be here today if not for the people that have helped us with our journey. And oftentimes it is the school teachers, it is the academy coaches, the grassroots coaches. Because if not for them, there wouldn't be me, there wouldn't be Haris Harun, there wouldn't be Safwan. So we need to give these people the appreciation, the highlights as well, because um, it takes a village to raise a kid, and none of us will be here without all those people that have come before us.
You talk about village. One of those key figures in that village was, of course, your dad. Um, if stories are right, you started off laying out cones for him. Uh, Speaking to your dad, he seems to be quite sure that he knew that someday you will go on to be a coach. Going back to those early days now, what did you learn most about your father that has impacted you?
Yeah, my father has left quite a few valuable lessons in me, and I still try to espouse those values today, like punctuality. He hated people coming late, right? And so I still remember to this day, and he told me that if a coach is half an hour before training, he's already late. So those kind of standards were set, and I often remember watching him planning a session on pen and paper, and how he put a lot of time and effort to it, and probably that's why I'm a stickler to details right now. And so he has definitely influenced me a lot, and really without him, then yeah, I wouldn't be sat here today.
And speaking of other influential figures, I still remember quite far back. I wrote an article that said "trashed in Tashkent." I'm not sure if
It was you, huh?
I'm not sure if you
It was
remember
you,
it,
that's right.
but that was the most difficult days, perhaps in terms of your career because of how bad the results were in that particular tournament. There were some calls on social media, at least, for you to be removed from the job, and this guy is too young, too inexperienced. But a certain Desmond on kept faith, and
Mm.
and here you are today as national coach. You could have been very easy for anyone to have removed you, essentially. How grateful are you for figures like him and also others along this coaching journey that's got you here?
like I said in the press conference, right? What you see of me today, it's not a consequence of my own work. It's a consequence of many people that have supported me in the journey, and that's just one of them. Without his support, protection, the journey probably would have ended quite early on. And those tough nights in Tashkent, when I reflected back on them, it was tough. It was really, really tough. Individually as well. After that, we slept in quarantine rooms alone, and so your mind is just crazy, right? But now looking back, the fact that I was able to overcome those difficult periods with the support of, again, Des and many people around me, it's only made me stronger. It's only made me a better coach.
You talk about the tough tournament, and a lot of people who come to know of your appointment will say you're too young, too inexperienced. But doesn't a tournament like that and what you've gone through sort of build you to be what you are today? I mean, what would you say is the biggest learning lesson you took out from that?
Oh, there were so many lessons from that tournament. But the biggest lesson I got was, how do I deal with all this? Because in football, there are potentially less happy days than not, and so our ability to deal with ourselves, to cope with the situation, to reframe messages, um, to protect our own brains is so important, and there was no better way to learn this message or this ability other than the situation in Tashkent.
Okay. You talk about real life influences. I think people will want to know this. In terms of coaching influences, who do you follow after? Who do you watch? And who do you gain inspiration from?
Difficult one, because ever since I started coaching, then you stop having a favorite team. Obviously, in the initial phases of my career, you follow the big names like Guardiola, Klopp, those fancy names. But after a while, you realize, as you study more, the knowledge of football is quite universal, right? It's about how they apply the knowledge based on the players they have. And so the moment I had that light bulb moment, and I just invested so much more into the knowledge in itself, and not so much individual figures.
Okay, and speaking of figures, correct me if I'm wrong with this fact, but when you first started out with Alex Weaver at Warriors, is it true that you were paid through coffee and not through actual payment? Like, could you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, so that's another crazy story. So um, uh, at that point in my life and in that journey, I was very curious about periodization. And then one day I was reading the newspaper, the hard copy, and then I saw Alex's quote about periodization, and then I reached out to him via email. He responded. Then I went down for one session. I kept going, second, third, and then afterwards, like, oh, do you want to help me? I'm like, yeah, sure, but I cannot pay you. So I was like, no problem. I just want to be here to gain the experience and the knowledge. And so he kind of paid me through Starbucks after training.
So he would buy you a Starbucks essentially every
Yeah,
training.
we'll share a coffee and a blueberry muffin, as I recall.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting story, but I think there's something there to be learned, right? In terms of how people in not just in sports, they want opportunities, right? And sometimes if you don't go knocking on doors, you don't get that opportunity. How much did that whole, because that was your starting point in some ways and what you are here today. How important was it for you to take that opportunity without someone handing it out to you?
Yeah, again, I don't think I would have that insight to professional football if I didn't make that step. But for me, it was like, why not? Just try, because I really wanted to know something. I couldn't really find the information I wanted, and I wanted to see how they do it in the professional setting at that point. And so nothing to lose, right? What's the worst that can happen? He don't reply me. So I'm just very grateful that he actually took his time to respond to it and accepted me, and to this day that we're still communicating.
Okay, I know you're a very humble person, but I have to ask this question. But when you take on any role, I'm sure you are confident that you can do well in the role, right? What makes you confident that Gavin Lee can be a success for the national team?
It depends on how you define success, first of all, right? For me, success for myself personally is that I improve as a coach, because I know that when I improve as a coach, the people around me benefit, the team benefit, and that's the most important thing, because that's the only thing I can control. And so for me, going to every job is like, okay, continue to be my best, improve myself, because with that I will help the team, I'll help the players, and then that should put us in a better place.
Okay, perfect. How does the the squad formation sort of figure in your head in terms of planning? Because truth be told, a couple of players on the more senior side, I know it's a very early question to ask, but have you thought much about how you'll bring through some youth, especially at a time where people look at our youth level results where it's not been quite positive? Is that something you've all thought about?
Yeah, I mean, as part of the conversations with Forest Desk and all, it's also about the players that are available. But it's too soon to say because a lot can change in 13 months, right? So ultimately, it's about which players are in the best condition, who can contribute to the team in the best possible way for Saudi. And then with those players, we'll find the best solution for that.
Okay. Before I move on to a bit more detailed questions on coaching, I just want to get your message to Singapore football fans.
Yeah, the night in Hong Kong would not have been possible if not for them. You know, really for us, to see 2,000 fans fly to Hong Kong without knowing that we'll qualify um, was really powerful for us because that shows us that they actually believed in us, that they had faith, and if people are believing in us, then why are we not believing in ourselves almost? So that was a very powerful tool that we had, and that definitely helped us, and hopefully we will continue that because this journey is long, and but with everybody together, I'm sure we will create even more Hong Kong memories.
Perfect. So I just want to find out about coaching itself, right? I mean, for the longest time, always people sometimes flattering wise or maybe not so flattering refer to you as the laptop coach, right? Before this, what is it about that? I mean, I just want to find out about like why is it important to you to be so meticulous in terms of right after matches, clipping things out, and like I said, players saying that you send them clips at 4 a.m. in terms of their previous games. Why is that important to you?
Well, a lot of times it's about practice what you preach, right? If you ask the players to be 100%, then the staff needs to be 100%. And for us, being 100% in that moment is to be able to provide the players some feedback as soon as possible, the moment they wake up after sleeping on the night of the game. And in order to achieve that, then we have to work through the night, and that's no exception. Um, and it's important because if they have some objective information about in front of them, then it will help them to process what has happened a little bit better. Because sometimes you don't win in games, but actually it's a very good performance, right? Then individually there are certain things they can do better and stuff like that. Or sometimes if you win games, but you actually don't play so well, and then that brings them back down a little bit, and to be a bit realistic with perspective. Those are the main reasons why we do it.
So could you share like what are these videos that you send them? Is it just clearly just their individual moments in the match or?
Yeah, it's a mix of things. When we go through the game after the match, obviously we will quote quite a few things at the team level as also at the individual level, and then we will just sort it out and then send the appropriate clips for the players. But then this is just the first filtering, right? After they've received the clips in the morning, usually by 11 or 12 noon, we will have a team meeting, a review meeting to go through the match. Some players wouldn't have watched the videos, but that's natural, there's no problem. And then after that main review, then we might decide, okay, there are a few more things that we're going to review individually with the players, and that's the kind of process that we take every game.
Okay, so that's the laptop side of it. You're also quite a strong communicator, and messaging has been quite important for you with your players. Where do you draw that inspiration from? Is it stuff that you read, stuff that you watch? I mean, where does that come from?
Yeah, first of all, in this job, the coach is not the one that plays the game, right? The players are the one that plays the game, but the coach is the one that provides the direction. And in order for the players to be able to execute that direction, then the message has got to be clear, and that's why the communication part of it is so important. If the players arrive into the pitch with question marks, then you're kind of 2-0 down. So as a principle for us as a staff is how can we make sure that our prep, our messaging helps the players to arrive on the pitch 2-0 up, so that we have the advantage, we are clear with what we do, and then that will give us the best chance for success.
Okay. Maybe just one last thing since I spoke to your parents. I know you spoke about your dad briefly earlier, but how important has parent support been for your journey? Because your mom mentioned that one thing that she remembers telling you is that it's not just about football, it's also about studies that's important. And she sort of told you that that's important. You need to get your paper. Here you are today with both paper and being national coach. How important have your parents been, and how appreciative are you?
Yeah. Again, my parents. Okay, the journey that I've taken is not normal. right? And to go into high pressure stuff quite early on is not easy. But having parents that are always supportive, that give you space, and again, I'm quite obsessive for the game, so I spend a lot of time in the game, and so they've been very tolerant. And because like my wife, right, like I'm not the easiest person to be around when we don't win games, you know that. And so for them to continue to support me regardless of how I am or where I am, and they see me as just a son, that was that's very, very important.